States of 2018.
Wow.
Yes, Bizarros, we are here for another year.
Yeah.
How many years has it been? This will be our 5th.
It's 9th year.
So this will be our 5th.
Nice.
What?
It's 5th year, really?
Yeah, dude.
I thought we talked about this last time, and Aristotle told us it was only like 3.5.
Oh, shit.
We were at
Okay,
4. We
I
were
lied.
overshooting a little bit.
I fucking
I
lied.
look like I'm 14 years old.
That's why
when
I said
shave.
you look weird, dude. I didn't, like, it's been throwing me off all day.
I don't like
God,
it.
What's wrong with you?
Yeah, I don't like
and it's
this.
not that anything's wrong with you. It's just like, yeah, you look
Sure.
super young.
Yeah.
Like, I'm just not used to you not having, like, a full beard.
Yeah, I don't like it. I had to shave because,
fine.
you remember that cat prosthetic?
Yeah.
That I showed you? Well,
I hate that
we
thing.
had to shave the mustache to fit on the prosthetic, so then I just had an Amish beard, and I just got rid of the beard.
Cool.
People were asking too many questions.
Good story, good story.
Beard hype.
Guys, hope you had a wonderful break. Also, Happy New Year. We do have new people joining us. We now are not only live on Project Alpha and on Nerdist YouTube, but we are now also live on Geek and Sundry's Twitch.
Woo!
So welcome to all of our
Twitch
potential
hype.
potential new viewers and listeners. And just so that you guys know what this is, it is a Fly by the seat of your pants podcast that Bowser and I do, all about the paranormal, the occult, spooky stuff, weird stuff. As long as it's weird, we touch upon it. It can be true crime, it can be ghosts, it can be cryptozoology. It runs the gamut.
Yes.
Our main goal, which is actually what we were talking a little bit on Nerdist News today, Talks Back, is that we let everybody kind of have their moment to tell us why they believe what they believe. We're not here to make fun of them. We do ask questions just out of personal interest, but
Yeah.
we're not trolling anybody. So
No.
So if you want to just have a fun, safe place to come and listen to crazy, goofy stuff, and some really interesting shit, then this is the place for you.
And
so we hope you join us.
With all the paranormal and all the bizarre, we do veer off into just personal stories of the bizarre.
Yeah, so that's another thing. Be prepared for a lot of tangents.
Yeah, there's tangents.
Well, that's
but
why
I think the big thing is,
Seat of your pants.
yes, I think that even though you very much plan these things.
Yes, you guys, it might sound, especially for those listening to the audio, because the audio does go up on Thursday afternoon-ishness on iTunes, so they can't see the notes, but I actually fully make like full-on highlighted notes about our topics for the day. I print out all of our listener stories. I put a lot of work and effort into it. I post to our Facebook page. I started our Bizarre States group off of our Facebook page because I hate the way that the page is set up so that nobody can really tell what anybody else is saying.
Yeah, the group seems to
I wanted
be
to make a group for
much
everybody.
more functional for our purposes.
Yeah.
Even in just the short time it's been up, I've seen a lot of great interactions.
Yeah.
People sharing stories of the paranormal that they've found, etc.
Yeah, so it's been great, and hope you guys stick around and enjoy the show. And with that, it's time for Weird of the Week. So Guillermo del Toro, somebody that we love here at Nerdist, and I have had the pleasure of meeting numerous times.
I've met him too.
Both through Legendary and then through Konami, and then offshoots with Kojima.
Right.
For whatever it is that they're quietly working on right
Sure.
now. Love the guy. Anyway, he has come out publicly and swears that he saw a real UFO and that, in his opinion, it was horribly designed, which I love that he says, because he's totally trolling. So during an interview with The Hollywood Reporter, Guillermo spoke about his personal paranormal experiences, specifically 2 encounters with ghosts that he described how he had a very vivid encounter with a UFO as a young man, but that it looked like crap.
Gosh.
So his actual quote is, "You sound like a complete lunatic, but I saw a UFO. I didn't want to see a UFO," says Del Toro. And it was horribly designed. So as they sat, him and his friend had actually gone out. I think it's so funny, the article, and we always link our articles up on our Facebook page so that you guys can go check it out and follow through. In the article, I believe he says that him and his friends went out to buy beers, but then he made a really specific point of saying that he didn't drink them.
Right.
He just bought them.
Because that would discredit his claims.
Oh, I was thinking it's because there might have been underage.
Oh, that too. But also it could
yes.
invalidate.
So he swears that he didn't drink them.
Yeah.
So he said they went and bought them, and as they sat alone in the darkness, they saw a light on the horizon moving super fast. They honked at it and flashed their lights at it, and from that point on, it went from 1,000 meters away to much closer in less than a second. And then he follows it up with saying, "It was so crappy." The Oscar-nominated director continued to say about his harrowing experience with a janky UFO. It was a flying saucer, so cliched, with lights blinking. It's so sad. I wish I could reveal they're not what you think they are, but they are what you think they are. So he is totally bummed out.
Yeah, but I think I would be excited if I saw a UFO and it looked like their traditional flying saucer.
I think I'd be stoked too.
I don't want to see, you know, sometimes in movies it's like they go really outside of the box with how they design a spaceship or a UFO. I wouldn't want just like a, floating square. I like Flight of the Navigator style, teardrop flying saucer. Pew.
Yeah, I think if I saw something that didn't fit in with my Hollywood imagery of what a flying saucer should look like, that I think I would be more scared, because at least with all the movies and TV shows we've seen, eventually humanity has a chance.
Right.
But then if I saw something that looked completely different from how I imagined it, then I'd be like, we're fucked.
Right.
We are absolutely all gonna die, which is exactly what I thought about when SpaceX launched their SpaceX rocket and didn't notify any of the surrounding counties that they were going to do that. My first thought was, oh my God, we're all getting bombed. It's happening.
Yeah.
My second thought was, or that's an alien invasion. My third thought was, fuck it, I need to go get milk still. And then later on, after that all sank in, my fourth thought was, fuck you, Elon Musk, for being such a dickwad for not warning people around the surrounding area, and then trolling us in a tweet being like, yeah, guys, alien invasion.
You get a notification on your phone if there's like an Amber Alert, which is a very important thing.
Yeah.
I would have expected an alert to go out to at least, I don't know how the fucking tech works.
Don't flip your shit because we're launching a rocket.
Right, don't flip your shit, we're launching a rocket. Because it was terrifying.
Yeah.
Especially with the current climate politically.
Yes. And I don't think
literal nuclear threats coming out of our White House.
Like every other day. And
Yeah.
I don't think people outside of this area understand how impactful it was for this specific region. Like people in LA during LA holiday traffic on the freeway stopped.
Yeah.
Stopped and got out of their cars and
They were like, we're done.
What the fuck was that? We're done. Like that's literally that shit never stops.
Yeah.
It never it's people were driving through friggin' forest fires going to work with what looked like Mordor.
Yeah.
And they didn't stop. They fucking stopped for this.
It had that.
People flipped out.
It was that disaster movie moment where the camera's pushing down the highway and cars are stopped and people are getting out of their cars and looking up toward the sky.
Yeah.
It had that exact feel. And then it was like, you guys are fucking dumb for being scared.
Yeah.
It's like, fuck you, dude. What am I supposed to think?
What a dipshit.
Come at us, Elon.
You know what? I'm over him. And I don't think he deserves the Musquatch show anymore.
Oh my gosh.
Dan and Kyle are being too good to him, and he doesn't deserve their attention.
Yeah.
They need to find somebody else. I'm so pissed off.
You heard it here first?
Yeah, pissed off. Anyway, moving on, because there's only so much you control Elon Musk for.
Yeah.
Speaking of fires, 2 men in England burst into flames, and police have no idea why. This is very odd.
Oof.
Yeah, so this actually kind of goes into what we are going to be discussing about possibly as our main conversation.
Okay. Well, I wanted to tell you about something too.
Because of the YouTube stuff.
Yeah.
So I want to say, Bowser and I had a big discussion about especially where true crime and things like this are involved, where deaths of actual people happen. We just want to let you guys know we don't try to glorify any of this. It's interesting because it's news and it's out there, so we want to talk to you about it, but we try to toe that fine line of being disrespectful. We don't want to be disrespectful. So
yes.
Heads up that some of this content, especially for the new people watching, if you're sensitive to this stuff, just keep that in mind when listening to this podcast. It's not always going to be the best stuff that we're talking about, so just as a heads up for that.
We will be talking about deaths sometimes.
Oh, yes, and murders.
Yeah.
Which I guess is one and the same.
Yeah.
So
we don't talk about murders that don't end in death.
That's true.
Yeah.
See, this is a good example of towing that fine line. Why are you making me laugh? Yes, that's true. If we don't, fuck. Okay, never mind. Moving on. All right, so 2 men in England burst into flames and police have no idea why. The victim, the most current victim, which I think this happened a week or so ago, was this gentleman named John Nolan, who was a 70-year-old unmarried former construction worker and was engulfed in flames before being airlifted to a hospital where he ended up dying the next day from his burns. The really, I guess, interesting thing about this is that there were no accelerants whatsoever found on his body. Like none.
Golly.
Like nothing. As of right now, as far as the police are aware, nobody's reporting hearing any kind of scuffle or attack between two people or anything like that that would lead people to suspect that somebody might have set him on fire on purpose. And then the fact that there's no accelerants found. On December 15th, London police said that Nolan's death and the reason to his catching a light was still being treated as unexplained. And then a few weeks later, another emergency call came in to report that another man had mysteriously burst into flames on a street in Hull, England. Many folks the article's a little vague. I think the first one happened and there weren't like a ton of people around, but the second one the most recent one actually happened in front of a lot of people. So many folks actually saw this go down and tried to help the man and also get emergency services on the scene. But again, sadly, he was burned so much that he ended up passing away the following day due to it. Police are still out there asking witnesses questions and anybody to come forward with any information on the deaths, and they're currently treating it as like a legit unsolved mystery.
Wow.
They have no leads. They have no idea why this is happening.
I mean, would this fall in the category of spontaneous combustion, like we've talked about before?
You know, I don't know. I suppose it could. Yeah, I guess.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know what the guidelines to that are.
Yeah. Yeah, because I mean, whenever I would hear the term spontaneous combustion as a kid, I don't know why I heard it a lot as a kid, but I always pictured that it was somebody like exploding, you know, like a comedic gag of a guy blowing up. But it isn't. It's like being engulfed, you know.
Yeah.
It's, and a lot of times it happens in people's sleep. But was this guy sleeping?
No, these gentlemen were walking around.
Golly. I mean.
And that's the thing. I actually, as a child, and actually still as an adult, I've always thought of it as being kind of like this, where you're fine and you're chill with it, and then all of a sudden you're just, whoop, you just go up. I've read some reports on spontaneous human combustion where people have said they've survived it and that what was going on with them is they were sitting there normal and then they'd see this weird blue flame kind of start around their legs and they'd get a burning sensation, but that the burning sensation was from the inside out. And so then they tried to pat themselves down and then they'd go to the hospital, and I guess they got there early enough that they were okay, but nobody could explain why that was happening. And I don't think any of those stories that I just said have ever been verified, really.
Yeah.
It's kind of just become this myth. But I mean, police have literally no idea why this is happening. I'm sure we'll get updates. I mean, it could be something as simple as maybe they were both smokers. The article doesn't go into it, and they were carrying an old lighter around in their pocket, and it's so small and so old, maybe the accelerant burned off. But, you know, I don't know what kind of tests police and fire have in order to see what starts something like that. I
can't tell you this anecdote because you have not watched Wormwood, the documentary on Netflix.
I have not.
Don't think I can say what I was going to say because it would be slightly spoilery. Yeah, I won't, but it has to do with forensics. I can't say it.
Yeah,
but I can tell you what it's about, at least.
Okay.
Which I was going to tell you about.
So yeah, tell me about Wormwood. So we sometimes go over documentaries that we've both seen, like
that are
Slender
in this
Man documentary
realm.
and like the Night Terrors documentary.
The Nightmare, yeah.
So what's Wormwood? Because I hadn't heard nothing about this.
So Wormwood is less steeped in the supernatural, and it's more steeped in government conspiracy. But it is about an army scientist who was supposedly experimented on using LSD, kind of in the era of MK Ultra, you know, and what wasn't it? Project Artichoke was another name of.
That's a dumbass
name.
I
know. I meant to look up why it was called that. But anyway, the son of this scientist. So the scientist jumped out a window to his death in New York City in 1953, I believe. And it was presumed to be a suicide. And his son, who was 9 at the time, has just grown up wondering if that was the truth. And so the documentary it's from Errol Morris, who's famous documentarian, Oscar-winning documentarian. But it follows the son, interviews him now, but he kind of tells the whole story from 9 years old to now. of him trying to find out the truth behind his father's death, if the truth is not what was told to his family in the 50s. But then, with that, and this isn't like the newest idea, a lot of documentaries are doing it, but are reenactments narratively shot with actors like Jimmy Simpson from Westworld and Peter Sarsgaard, Bob Balaban.
Really?
Yeah, like big, a lot of documentaries have done that kind of blend into narrative and cinematic sequences to represent reenactments. I mean, even The Nightmare was kind of known for that because they did it so well, like a good horror film. But this is kind of next level because it's like famous, it's A-list talent and it's an A-list director. So what's interesting about it is that you have the just possible true crime aspect of, was this a cover-up? Did this have to do with MK Ultra? Was he pushed? Was he suicidal? What can this son, who's now I think like 67, find out about his dad after all these years, mixed with reenactments of that shifting narrative, So if the son says, well, here's what I was told in 1975, you see that play out. And then if the son says, in 1981, I found out new information, and that's not how it happened, then you see it play out differently each time with these, wonderful actors. So it's a cool experiment, and I thought it was just fucking perfect. I mean, I felt like it was a great blend of information mixed with possible fiction with a really great payoff. I read some reviews that were like, well, the director got kind of caught up in flights of cinematic fancy with those reenactments. And I was like, fucking Errol Morris can do whatever the fuck he wants. He's been making wonderful films for decades. And they work, especially because it's about the son thinking something's true that then isn't. It makes sense to reenact them multiple times from different perspectives. And I will say, without giving away any spoilers, it is a fulfilling documentary. It doesn't do that thing where it just kind of leaves you like, maybe there is no answer. I mean, you never know in real life.
Yeah, one of those.
It does give you information you were seeking in a very, not in like a tricky way where they held something back and then reveal it. They naturally.
Did you almost just throw up?
I did. I fucking threw up in my mouth. No, I'm still getting over being sick. So as I talk, I get these like fucking pockets of phlegm, and then I either, it's like, do I fucking hack it up and spit it into a coffee cup or just swallow it?
No,
It's disgusting.
swallow it, yeah.
I know, and I have been. So anyway, Wormwood. It's really good, but it is really heavy because it's sad because
Wormwood because of LSD.
Yeah, and there's a lot of biblical mention, biblical parallels throughout. But it's heavy. But at the same time, I don't know, there's some catharsis to it because it's about this son kind of getting to the bottom of this thing that's haunted him.
Well, I'll check it out
years and
tonight. I'll
years.
push back The Crown. Mike Shaw's going to be pissed, but I'll push back
Push
The Crown.
back The Crown.
In
Tear
order to watch
through
Wormwood.
6 episodes of Wormwood.
So without telling me the ending, where do you stand on it? Do you think that the father was pushed? Do you think he killed himself? Or do you think that he was like, I don't know, tapped into MK Ultra?
Without giving anything away in regards to what they find out, because even what they find out technically could be hearsay or whatever. Maybe it's just because I am inclined to believe the more interesting, exciting angle. I believe there was a conspiracy, and I don't believe the father was, at that point in time, I don't believe he was suicidal. So I believe there was malice, and it seems like the suspicions from the son are that malice came from our government.
Yeah.
So it's a big implication, and it's not like they haven't fucking...
Yeah.
It was around the time when they were admitting a lot of crazy shit. And
MK Ultra is definitely a real thing that happened.
Yeah.
For sure. It's not made up. It's not it's not pretend.
There's great moments where God, I forget the context, but someone's in an old interview is like, what made you think LSD would have the effect you wanted it or hoped for it to have on these people, when a lot of people that took LSD knew exactly what it did to the mind and that it wouldn't really make people better functioning soldiers. And the scientist, the doctor, I forget which guy, was just like, yeah, I don't know. We didn't know what it fucking did.
Well,
we were just like giving people LSD, thinking, they'd become more malleable or they could access a part of themselves that could then be like weaponized. But it didn't have that effect on people.
Well, and if you read into MK Ultra at all, it wasn't even just LSD. I mean, it was sometimes just LSD. Like, they would go to parties and like there would be a government agent there and he would just drop drops. He'd just drug people like randomly, and then they would watch that person lose their shit.
Right.
And so they wanted to see what the effects were on the average individual who did know that they were getting drugged, who then didn't know that they were getting drugged, and then they would actually have people that they would do specific experiments on where it wasn't just LSD, it would be a vein in one side of LSD and then like a downer of some sort, or an upper in the other, and then they would pump them both at the same time to just see how their body would react.
And what's interesting about what some of the suspicions are from the son, he believes his father was dosed like that, unbeknownst to him, at a kind of party, at a getaway, basically a retreat for some of the scientists. He believes his father was dosed so that they could then see if in that state he could still maintain or contain the secrets that he had. So then they kind of were fucking with their own guys just to see if they could be trusted in some intense scenario where you're getting dosed with LSD by means of torture or by means of retrieving information. But just like really irresponsible stuff with men that had a lot of the country's secrets and, you know, were possibly involved in biological warfare. It's heavy, like deep stuff, but it's really amazing what they uncovered. And again, it's cathartic. It's a good watch. You don't leave feeling bummed.
Okay, I'll check it out. And, you know, it's not as if our government has not been known to do extremely shady shit.
Yeah.
Recently, actually right after, I can't believe this happened, right after we closed doors here.
Yeah.
But right when we closed doors to go on Christmas break, that's when all that UFO information popped.
Yeah.
Did you read any of that?
No.
Okay, that's fine.
But people have been messaging me about it, assuming I've looked into it, but I haven't.
Well, so I posted...
Does it involve Tom DeLonge? Or is he like...
So here's where I get confused.
Yeah. Or do I just assume everything involving UFOs involves Tom DeLonge?
That is a possibility. So Tom DeLonge, this is what I have heard, and I don't, literally, like, I couldn't even tell you who told me. It was like part of the ether. The rumors are is that Tom DeLonge from Blink-182 and then recently Angel versus Airwaves left.
Don't forget Boxcar Racer.
I didn't know that. Left in order to like fully, totally pursue this UFO stuff, and I think and I don't know for sure because I haven't done a ton of research on it because we were in break, but I think he is the one that teamed up with this ex-Pentagon worker.
Yes.
And has now put this out on the table for everybody. And the fact, and it, you know, Derek Poller, our I guess it'd be our EP, right?
Our EP for the Bizarre States
Los Angeles live show.
Yeah.
After the break, he and I were talking, and he's like, I just cannot believe that somebody, an official, like, documented member of the Pentagon has come out publicly to say that this was something that was going on and that this is a situation that the government didn't recognize was happening and that it was an official UFO and this, that, and the other thing. Like, has blown the lid off at this thing, and nobody has really batted an eyelash.
Yeah.
Like, the folks in the mix that are into this kind of stuff obviously are into it and like following through and like really curious, but the general public has completely forgotten about it, it seems like. And I was wondering too if that was done on purpose. Like, it doesn't make sense to me why Tom and this guy would have worked so hard to blow the lid off this thing, and was it that they put it out over Christmas thinking that it would blow up because people would be at home and reading a bunch of stuff?
Yeah.
Was it just unfortunately buried by the news just because of all the crazy shit that's been happening in 2017?
Right.
Or has it been squashed? So I'm really curious because right before we went on break, we had Jeremy Lockyer-Corbell come on to talk about his work with UFOs and Skinwalker Ranch. And so I reached out to him. So we're actually going to have him on, not next week, but the week after, so that he can come and give us the breakdown on everything that's been going on. He says it's connected to stuff that he's been working on himself with that documentary he wants to do on Skinwalker Ranch.
Yeah.
So it sounds like he's got a lot to say. So I just want to give you guys the heads up that in like 2 weeks, we're getting him back to kind of give us the real nitty-gritty on what all of this means.
Yeah, and a running theme, which is something that because UFOs aren't necessarily my bag, you know.
Yeah.
I'm more interested in ghosts and demons and cryptozoological animals. But one running theme that I have found as we hear from people that are into UFOs is that one of the reasons why it's hidden or, you know, tempered by our government, the knowledge of it, is that aliens have technology that would help us. You know, whether it's fuel source or something else. And that's something that Tom says in the article that I brought up while you were talking about it, is that this is the tip of the iceberg, and that what we're going to uncover is all of this tech that could, you know, save the human race.
That'd be nice.
And I also believe that there's plenty of people that don't want to save the human race.
Oh, yeah,
and
for
that
sure.
could be
You mean
keeping this.
Our president?
Yes.
Speaking of the human race, do you want to dive into what you wanted to talk about?
Race.
I personally
well,
want to stay away from this, but Bowser mentioned that he feels rather passionate about it. I want to stay away from it just because I don't feel like this guy needs any more attention.
And I agree.
It's something that is out there, so we should probably mention it.
Yeah, I guess.
I'm going to let you take the reins on this one.
The only, I hate even saying his name, because I've despised this personality for so long for superficial reasons.
Completely honest, I had no idea who this person was.
Really?
Up until
we should talk about it in vagaries until someone in chat fills in the gap. I mean, we're talking about a famous YouTuber that made waves this week for doing something very disgusting, and he is the leader of the Low Gang, Logan Paul. Now, I mean, I had heard about him because, as much as I'd like to pretend, you know, I've seen a lot of tweets that are like, "Who's this fucking nitwit?" I mean, and that's fine, and I believe you didn't know who he was.
No, man, I only go to YouTube to watch my own shit and to watch beauty videos.
I feel like I haven't been able to avoid these people. Like, I haven't well, it's just like, I don't want to know I don't want to know Imagine Dragons, but I fucking know who Imagine Dragons are.
That's true. Like, I don't
you know what I mean?
I don't know why I know so much about the Kardashians when I don't even watch their show.
I feel like that's been, at least in whatever, you know, circles I frequent, which is pretty much just like watching Fail Army on YouTube. That's like why I go to YouTube.
That's a pretty good one, though. I do like that one.
Yeah, love me some Fail Army. But so he's creeped into my, you know, sphere before, and I've watched some of his obnoxious videos. But I haven't been like outspoken against that culture, that like vlog culture. I've been kind of like, I don't know, I guess that's their thing. I mean, I'm fucking 35. Of course I'm not going to get that as entertainment. I'm not going to understand. But I never just thought like it's inherently an, you know, evil mindset to have. But
I always feel like it's kind of just this generation's version of Jackass.
Right. Well, that
like the poor man's Jackass.
Right. And yes, that it is just, I guess, evolution of media. I mean, I didn't have an iPad when I was 8, but I see 8-year-olds with an iPad that I can't assume everybody younger than me is just going to keep the same pace I kept as far as learning and understanding technology. So when I look at obnoxious YouTubers, it doesn't personally offend me. I'm like, well, that's that fucking world. I don't understand it, but I'm not a part of it. I'm very much outside of that demographic. But so I watched the full 15-minute long video.
You did?
Yeah, I watched it immediately.
I avoided it.
And I guess that would say, I mean, that I'm part of the problem because I watched it. So I'm not saying that's what you're implying, but
Yeah.
I think partially, I mean, I guess my curiosity, though, would be part of the problem if you were to distill down to its base why I looked at it.
Yeah.
You know, it's the same reason why anyone else clicked on it and was like, what?
Well, it's that whole conversation we've had before about like that Wikipedia hole that you find yourself falling into, specifically us when we're trying to research some of the like true crime stuff, and you click on one thing and then that leads you to another thing, and all of a sudden by like 3 hours later you've read the worst shit you've ever read in your life about people getting hurt or killed or kidnapped or whatever.
Yeah.
And then you're just in a depression hole and you're just like, why did I do that to myself?
Yes.
Like it's almost like this it's this weird impulse for darkness.
Yeah.
And then you get to this point finally where you're at full saturation and you're like, why did I do this?
And I am guilty of looking at things, I mean, ever since I was a kid, just because I had a morbid curiosity.
So that was that whole Faces of Death tape situation.
Right.
Yeah.
So I get that. And I think in watching it, yes, I was watching his video to figure out how I can judge him for being so shitty. Mm-hmm. So I was kind of waiting to see how far it went. And I mean, this should be obvious, but obviously, trigger warning. We're talking about the suicide forest in Japan. We're talking about someone that filmed a dead body, a deceased person who died from suicide. So, trigger warning. This isn't, going to be a light topic. But I bring it up because I do think for a show like ours, I don't think we've ever crossed the line where we turned something super morbid, where we digested it and spit it back out purely for entertainment. I think our initial instinct is to understand this stuff and relate to it and shed light on it from some angle. But it is a good warning, I guess, that we are always aware of how that can turn, because in his video, it so quickly goes from kind of faux shock or real shock to...
I mean, I don't know how you could... I mean, you
I know
must be shocked.
how you can't fake it, right. I mean, how you could fake it. But it's so quickly, you can see it in his eyes, turns into, how can I make this about me? How can I...
Really?
Like, really menacingly. I mean, I feel like this video is going to be taught in sociology classes, because as I went back and watched certain moments over again, and as an editor and like video guy, you know what I mean? I was like, he's editing a certain way.
You know how to look for things that I think the average viewer wouldn't know how to look for.
You got to think, everything that's left in that video was a decision. I mean, that's what editing is, you know what I mean? So every reaction, even to his friends and the other onlookers, everything had intention behind it. And that's what's so diabolical to me. And that's what a lot of the articles have said, is like, he took this moment and this person and this life and like fucking flipped it for himself so fucking fast. Then the like secondary level of menace or just shittiness to the situation is that he tried to frame it as a teachable warning and moment.
But only after he was getting called out, right?
No, like in the video.
Oh.
In the video, after filming this poor man, then says, you know, guys, I mean, suicide's not the answer. You need to know the low gang is here for you. And like in front of a corpse is trying to turn that into, and his fucking like malformed mind can't understand the like fucking insanity of that, you know?
Yeah.
Cannot see through his own bullshit to see that that message can be given without exploiting the dead body.
Yeah.
And also, and I'm sure a lot of people pick up on this, the kid's a fucking shitty actor. So any fucking like sentiment in his eyes, you're like, bullshit. You can see it. He's a fucking like Terminator. I mean, he's fucking, like, really what's there is like, I need fame. And you can see that's what he's operating on. So even his apology video, if it was like an audition piece, I'd be like, don't fucking hire that guy, because he couldn't fucking act his way out of a paper bag. But here he is trying to convince, 15 million people of remorse and of shame and sorrow. And you're watching it and you're like, this is a bad performance, dude. And to go back to the actual video, when they first come across the body, it's from a distance. Okay. And I was like, okay, this isn't that crazy. Everyone's freaking out, but really all they did was blur out a figure in the distance. This motherfucker, Logan Paul, goes up like as close as I am to you and films details.
Oh my God.
I mean, so the wall of shock is down, and they're in fucking vlog mode. To me, it was like that. It's the first time I've seen the YouTube culture, the like fame-hungry vlog, in the vlog, daily vlog culture, like cross over to a disconnect from humanity, because you couldn't be a fucking human in that moment. You had to be a entertainment conduit first. And because the human thing to do would be like, don't fucking film this poor man.
Yeah.
But he couldn't even be fucking human. That's when I was like, okay, this is dangerous. This culture is dangerous because it has clearly led to a disconnect. And I don't think in any of our dealings, when we read articles, even if I fucking think about a 70-year-old man being spontaneously combusting, I'm not going to fucking troll that guy.
Well,
and
would never show those photos.
Yeah, and would never be able to think the perspective I need to have on this first and foremost is how can I make this entertainment? Even though I guess a podcast is entertainment, but you can tell his instinct is to fucking spin it for entertainment at all costs.
Yeah.
Even when you're looking at a dead body. So anyway, it's fucked up and very, very, very sad that he did what he did. And I'm not saying the guy can't apologize and that someone can't be sorry for fucking up. but it's just so hard to buy any of the remorse when
Well,
he
somebody was
is...
saying in chat, and it happened a while ago, so I don't know who it was, or else I would give him a shout out. But somebody was mentioning that he's actually, and I don't know if this is true, I'm reading from chat.
Yeah.
That he's actually monetized the apology video.
The apology video supposedly was monetized, but that's the thing. It's like, I read an article that was like why we should be scared of Logan Paul, and it is not because of the individual, because of the culture it represents and how widespread that is and how the fandom. I mean, we haven't even gotten into the fact that his audience is young. That's another point, not to like put us above reproach, but our podcast is knowingly and unabashedly about bizarre, fucked up things. We're going to talk about death and murder and sometimes suicide, and that's not what his, if you want to call it a show, is about. So beyond the fucking moral implications, the professional implications of like misleading your audience into something so like really terrifying. And I'm someone who's watched every fucking horror movie and Faces of Death videos, but still there's shots in his vlog that I was like, Jesus fucking Christ, dude, I don't want to see that, you know?
Yeah.
But anyway, he cannot remove the business from it. I mean, at the end of the Suicide Forest vlog, he says, he's like, I mean, I don't know, should we do the whole like subscribe, like CTA? I don't know, man. I mean, fuck it, you know, that's what we do. Make sure you subscribe, make sure you hit the logo. And I was like, motherfucker, no, you don't do it. That's the answer to the question. You don't do it. Yeah. You don't use this as a platform to build your subscriber base. You walk into the fucking forest, which you shouldn't have gone off path to begin with. You see a dead body and you go, fuck, shut the cameras off. We gotta fucking go call the cops. And you leave.
Yeah.
Like, you don't turn it into, but it's, I mean, this is why I say this will be taught. The language of the video is like, it's a fucking masterclass in narcissism. Like, crazy, you know? Ugh. How much it returns to him having his shock. Oh, I didn't think this would happen today. Whoo, you know, it's just like fucking me.
I mean,
how am I feeling in this
that's not gonna happen? They went off the path in order to find that specifically.
Well, then there is the whole like cultural disrespect. You know, this white guy walks into the forest. First of all, he confuses what country he's in. He like says he's in Fiji or something. He's like, oh, I mean Mount Fuji, or you know, like the whole thing was built on. There's plenty of articles about just his privilege and the idea that and then he goes out into the parking lot and like does sake shots to be like, I gotta calm down, man. Sake shots. And then talks to Japanese fans that recognize him. I mean, I'm telling you, the whole thing is like, it's like someone told me, write a sketch about the shittiest YouTuber alive, and I'd be like, it'd probably be him exploiting a death. Like, it'd probably be him coming up upon a suicide victim and joking. And then that's what this actual video is. It's like we're living in fucking Strange Days, that random James Cameron movie that nobody cared about.
No, what are you talking about? That was an excellent movie.
Yeah, no, I love Strange Days. I was like, I loved it when I saw it. I was like, this is fucking mind-blowing, man.
Yeah,
no one fucking cared about that movie.
The fucking best.
That's how I felt watching the Logan Paul video. I was like, we are in the dystopian future where fame-seeking and flipping internal things outward for entertainment and for value has reached like a depressing state.
So has there been any other than the articles that you've been reading and like people kind of covering what this means for society as a whole? Are there any ramifications? I mean, is YouTube going to shut him down? Are they even making a statement about it? I mean, I don't know how they're able to avoid it.
I'm not the most like YouTube savvy dude. I do know that if there's drama in the YouTube community, you go to Philip DeFranco to see what he says about it, because he's like the YouTube community police.
Oh, really? I didn't know that either.
Philip DeFranco is like, you know, huge YouTuber, and usually, I mean, he always gives his opinion, but kind of gathers the information and always makes a video about the current drama. Like, so here's what's going on with PewDiePie for people that don't know. He said this word, here's the clip, this is what I think about it, here's what I think. You know, he's kind of just like the roundup guy. So he made a vlog from his like vacation where he's like, I know you guys want me to talk about this, but I'm on vacation. I'll talk about it on Wednesday. So he's going to talk about it on Wednesday. He got a response from YouTube that said something like, this video violated our community guidelines.
Wait, YouTube sent him a video in regards to...
Someone would have to look into the details, but I think Philip DeFranco either tweeted at YouTube or did something that caused a response to be given. But to like Philip DeFranco, I'm sure they'd given some response to someone else at some point. But they didn't remove the video. Logan Paul did, which is something that a lot of people are pointing out. YouTube didn't the video was called like We Found a Dead Body. Like in the thumbnail was a blurred out corpse, and it lived long enough on YouTube to rack up something like 6 million views. So everyone is like, YouTube, what the fuck?
Yeah.
I mean, videos have gotten taken down that are response videos to his video have gotten taken down quicker than his fucking video. There's a bunch of people tweeting funny things like, you know, I'm gonna upload a video where I do something incredibly fucked up and it'll be fine, but the response videos will get taken down. Because, again, what do you call it? The economic landscape. YouTube needs people like Logan Paul, you know, to believe that YouTube is a platform that matters in the entertainment industry. You have to have celebrities. So they need Logan Paul. So there's going to be this weird relationship where, you know, do they punish their moneymaker, one of their kind of flagship faces that validates YouTube as an entertainment platform, whose brother was on a Disney show, who was in a feature film, you know, has a show on YouTube Red or whatever. So I don't know what they're gonna do, and I don't know if they've said, they just need to fucking say, we fucked up, we should have taken that video down immediately, fuck Logan Paul. But, you know, they're not gonna say that.
Not, you know, I think they're just gonna let it die down. I mean, there's so much shit that's happening right now in above and beyond YouTube that I think they're just gonna place their bets on the fact that in a couple weeks, nobody's gonna even be thinking about it.
And I think I do need to recognize that I don't process things through social media. Some people do. I mean, I'll read someone's Facebook post and I'm like, Jesus Christ, you fucking put that on Facebook? But I don't, you know, personalize social media. Other people do. I don't think that's inherently wrong, I guess. Some people relate to it in a different...
catch-22 a little bit where, because of what I do at this point, I mean, I've been told straight out to my face that, like, if I want to move to the next level of a career, that I need to have more viewers on my social media, and I'm on my social media all the time. Luckily for me, I've managed to, you know, get a lot of really good, legit people that follow and aren't, like, I'm of a different demographic. Like, I wouldn't even fall into this mix.
No, I know. But
I do feel like I often, although I don't feel I go too far, you know, I do, you know, have to put some of my life up there. Yeah.
Sure.
I guess.
No, I know. Yeah, you can't just be kind of faceless.
There's only so many
void.
There's only so many food pictures that a person can put on their.
Yeah. No, I know.
Interesting. Well, this has been an interesting conversation. Look at you getting all heated. I think you guys this is the first time I think Bowser has had a full-on friggin' rant.
Possibly. I think that you've been here, because if you're not here, that is usually what it becomes.
Wait, why am I the one that tempers your ranting?
Well, I think when I have a solo episode, I feel it necessitates a rant, you know, unless Aristotle's there to help neutralize things. But it did make me very angry. I mean, it did. And also, though, this is the first podcast from break, so we haven't talked in a while. So there's a lot to talk about and a lot built up. But this did fucking really
set you off, huh?
Set me off.
Aw.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sorry about that.
Well, that's all right. I mean, I think the world is
rundown.
set off about it. Yeah.
Because I was looking at it. Well, you know, and here's the thing too, is that I was looking at it and I was like, you know, first of all, I don't agree with any of it.
Yeah.
But secondly, if you got to take away, if we specifically got to take away something from it, it's just us to remind ourselves. I'm like, this is a good reminder that when we do bizarre states, and I think we've done a really good job up to this point. Yeah. To just like really think through, since we are talking about sensitive subjects, like. Right. You know, like we just got to be extra careful. Sure. Because, listen, but we're nice people. We don't want to hurt anybody's feelings.
But yes, we need to remember that when we read about the submarine victim.
Yeah, that's a real person.
That's somebody's relative. Yeah. And for us, it's a headline or a detail that we can discuss on our show. But yes, that it all connects to real life and real death, and it's serious. Yeah. And so it's not to be mocked and not to be made light of.
Yeah, totally. So it was just a good reminder. I mean, I'm sorry it even happened in the first place, but it's a good reminder for us to just keep doing, I guess, what we're doing and just try to remain sensitive, normal human beings as best as we can. Yes. And with that, we're going to move into listener stories. Yeah! Speaking of crazy, crazy shit. I'm actually going to, I was going to have you read the 2, but since you've been talking so much.
Yes, I've had enough airtime.
I'm stealing it away from you a little bit. I still want you to read this one. But we've got 3 listener stories, 2 of which are fairly long, so pardon me if I got to read it a little bit fast. This is about the Haunted Jerome Grand Hotel. Hey, Justin Bowser, my name is Nicole. Absolutely love the show, and I've been listening for a long time and finally got my own ghost story to tell.
Cool.
I went to Jerome, Arizona a couple of months ago and took a haunted tour of the city as well as stayed in the famously haunted Jerome Grand Hotel. Here's a little history of Jerome, Arizona. It's pretty fucked up. Seriously, there is so much. That's what she says. There is so much to go into with the history of this small mining town that you could do a whole episode on it, so I won't make this too long of an intro, but a couple things that really stand out. Number 1, the town at one point had so many dead bodies from disease and the Spanish flu that William Andrews Clark, owner of the Verde Copper Company, ordered for the bodies to be burned in the mine's smelters as well. So basically, the concrete foundation of the city is made with dead bodies, and oh my God, that sounds like it was straight out of Silent Hill movie.
Yeah.
Right? The first one? Whew. All right, the town has number 2, the town had a fun game, she's putting that in quotes, they would play to show off their mining skills. In the middle of town, there is this square block of rock that has all of these square holes in it. The miners would pair up and one would hold an 11-inch spike while the other would hammer the spike into the block. Well, as you can imagine, maybe some fingers got busted. Not the case for the poor bastard whose teammate missed the spike completely and smashed his head in. They didn't play that game anymore after that. All of this was told to us by our tour guide. Now for the real reason I'm emailing, our overnight stay at the haunted hotel. The Jerome Grand Hotel used to be the hospital for the town from 1927 to 1950, when it closed down after the mining boom ended and remained unused for 44 years. During its time as a hospital, an estimated 9,000 deaths occurred there. So my friends and I were ready for some spooky shit. Wink, wink. One friend had already stayed there in a different room, but still had her own ghost stories. We got rooms 22 and 25, which were adjoining, and we found out afterwards that we stayed. And we found out afterwards, after we stayed there, that these were known as the death rooms. Again, quotes. We got back to the rooms around 11:30 p.m. after our ghost tour that night and explored the floors and surrounding areas and balcony. Nothing too crazy except just knowing this place is haunted, and that in itself is enough to creep you out. We decided to go back to the room and hang out for a bit and watch some creepy videos of haunted houses. After a while, we were tired, so the couple went to their room, and me and 2 other friends shared the bed in our room. I'm a light sleeper and have a hard time falling asleep, so I was wide awake basically the entire night. There were so many noises the whole night. I swear it was like people were knocking on walls, whispering, running back and forth on the floor above me. It sounded like a child was running back and forth and what sounded like a marble on hardwood floor rolling above me. I later read that the 3rd floor, which was the one above me, was the surgery floor, and people have reported hearing gurneys rolling around despite them having put in carpet. I also heard what sounded like a hiss, and other people have said they've heard the same things. Apparently there's this is for you. Apparently there's a ghost cat in the hotel.
Love it.
But the most creepy thing was I felt someone sit on my bed right at my feet. And she writes this all in caps. Like the bed actually shifted and it felt so real, like there was a physical weight on the bed by my feet. Again, I later read about someone experiencing the same thing happening to them in that room. I kick myself now for not looking or trying to capture a voice or photo or anything. I wouldn't be that hard on yourself. I would be like, absolutely fuck that. But I was pretty freaked out at the moment. In the lobby of the hotel are a bunch of guest books where people write their stories and experiences, and it's kind of cool to read what others have seen and heard. I recommend visiting Jerome for the tour and the stay at the hotel if you get the chance. Sorry for the long email, but I hope you enjoyed the story. Keep it creepy and spooky shit coming.
Oh my gosh.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
We've actually had really good listener stories lately, even right before break. If you guys, like those that are new, if you guys want to check out any of our past episodes, you can watch the VODs if you're a Team Alpha member, or also all the audio's up on iTunes.
Yeah.
Our last couple of listener story episodes from right before break were really, really good.
Well, yeah, and sometimes we've filled an episode with listener stories as a way of if we haven't come up with a structure for that week. But then it winds up being better than anything we could come up with because what people have experienced is so eclectic.
Yeah.
All right, mine is titled "I Almost Died Listening to Bizarre States." Hello, precious flower Bowser and Showbot. That was a nickname for a while, wasn't it?
I can't remember.
My
yeah,
precious
I think
flower.
so. Because you didn't want my little buddy. My
Yeah.
little buddy.
Yeah. My name is Lizzie. You're free to use it. And I wanted to give an update on my haunted backyard swing and tell a new story.
Lizzie's a past writer, and she's actually written about, she had a swing in the backyard, which I think was pushing her out of it, or something was happening with her.
Yeah.
She's
Or
written
moving
before.
on its own.
Yeah.
Last week I was traveling home from visiting my fiance. We currently live about a 2.5-hour drive apart from each other, and something really weird happened. I was driving down the highway behind an old truck carrying scrap metal, final destination, and other old equipment, not uncommon in rural Arkansas by any means, and something flew off the back of the truck, headed right for my windshield and face. God, I couldn't make out exactly what it was, but it was definitely metal and definitely big. I fully expected to be dead or seriously injured in the next half minute or so. I saw it flying towards me, flinched, and tensed up. I shut my eyes for half a second before my brain was like, no, idiot, you're driving, don't shut your eyes. And then nothing happened. There wasn't a thunk of metal hitting my car. Nothing was on the road. The truck was even way further ahead of me now. No idea what happened there, but I'm glad I didn't die listening to my favorite podcast.
I'll tell you what happened. She shifted into Berenstain.
Oh my gosh, she jumped the...
She jumped.
Yeah, she jumped into the other universe, the alt universe, the Berenstain. I told some friends about that while I was home.
Oh, yeah.
And they were all like, it's Berenstain, dude, EIN. I was like, motherfuckers,
check it
Google
out.
it. And
Yeah.
they were like, their minds were blown.
I bet.
Haunted swing update. I was out with the dogs again, sitting in the swing, minding my own business when it felt like something caught in mid-swing, held me for a couple of seconds, and then let go. At that point, I came to terms with this being my life now, and I think the swing and I have a mutual respect for one another. At least I hope.
Awesome.
I mean, at least all it does is catch you in mid-swing and let you go. It doesn't fuck with you and spin you around the...
I have kind of a similar car story that happened to me in college. I was going to my friend's house, and I was in the lane to try and take a left, and everything was fine. And a big truck had passed. Like, have you ever had it when you're trying to take a left and the other car across from you that you're waiting to like drive by so that you can make that turn is like really big, so you can't see what's behind it.
Mm-hmm.
I had assumed it was free, so after the big truck passed me and I was already in my making my way to turn, there was a car right behind it.
Mm-hmm.
And it was so close to me, I could see the driver inside. And so instinctually, I tensed up. I did the same thing. I tensed up and I closed my eyes and I waited for the impact. And I literally do not remember anything until it feels like a gazillion, a certain amount of time passed. I couldn't remember anything, and I opened my eyes, and that car was completely gone.
What?
And I was just sitting on the other side of the road as if I had made the turn, but I never turned the steering wheel.
That's weird,
that I remember,
dude.
and I was just sitting there.
Oh my
And I was
gosh.
just like, what the fuck?
Weird.
Yeah, and my car was
It's
fine.
a glitch in the Matrix.
Yeah, I think I glitched out. All right, so we're over time right now. Do we have time to finish this last story?
Or do we need to keep it pretty?
It's
do we need to
long,
keep it
but I'm a
pretty tight?
fast reader. Yeah, fuck it. Okay, we'll have to save it for next
I think
time.
Stovetop thinks we gotta
I know,
wrap it up.
I'm getting the eyes from Stovetop. Like, no, nope, you can't.
And not the good eyes.
Yeah, no good eyes with that one. Anyway, well, I was able to share my story, so at least you got two stories out of it, or 2.5. Guys, thanks for joining us. It's welcome back, Bizarros, to Bizarre States 2018. Thanks for hanging around. Thanks for being patient with us over the Christmas break. Hope you all had a great holiday break yourself. Had a happy New Year. For those that are new to us via
Through
Geek
Twitch,
and Sundry's Twitch, thanks for joining us as well. Heads up, for those that don't know, you can catch us live from 4 to 5 p.m. PST on Nerdist YouTube, ProjectAlpha.com, and Geek and Sundry's Twitch now. Twitch.tv/Geek and Sundry, Nerdist YouTube. If you're not watching it on here as is, it's youtube.com/Nerdist. For those that missed the live show but still want to see the show itself, VOD I think goes up the following day. Is that right? I don't know what day it goes up, but we do have VOD that's available for people that are part of Team Alpha. And again, that gets you, I believe, 10% off in the store where you can buy our mugs or pins or any of the other kooky shit that we've got.
Yeah.
And the pins are cool. They glow in the dark.
Heck yeah, they do.
Yep. You can catch the audio, which is free, of the podcast every Thursday afternoon over on iTunes. And for socials, you can follow us on Instagram at Bizarre States, of which I will actually be uploading because I thought it was really cute. Aristotle's Christmas cards this year. They were really nice. So you can follow us at Instagram at Bizarre States, on Twitter at Bizarre_States, and on Facebook. That's where we keep our show notes, and also the Bizarre States group is there. You can go ahead and join, and I'll approve everybody. In fact, I just approved, I think, 30 more people or 40 more people.
We're like Club 33.
Well, no, we have
exclusive.
more. We have more people than that.
No, I know. I'm saying it's exclusive, like Club 33.
Yeah.
Not we have 33 people.
We're not exclusive at all. But it's a cool place to go and hang out and talk to other people that are interested in this stuff. I've actually really enjoyed watching the interaction within the group. So if you want to go there, it's facebook.com/Bizarre States Podcast. And again, if you have listener stories to share and want to hear possibly your story read on air, send your listener stories to bizarrestatespodcast@gmail.com. Let us know what you guys, what you've experienced. Heads up for the newbies. If you send it to us and you don't want your name said on air, just put in bold letters on there, do not say my name.
Yeah.
Say my name, say my name. Oh,
don't say my name, don't say my name.
And we won't, because we will respect that.
Yes.
But also keep in mind, we also only say first names, and so I think you'd probably be in the clear anyway. But
Unless your name is Jamiroquai.
Yeah.
Then there's no getting around it. We
No,
know
that's
who
true. We
you
know
are.
who you are. I was like, what's the joke? I don't get the joke. Okay. And with that, you want to do our
Oh,
outro?
sure. This has been Jessica Chobot and Andrew Bowser reminding you, aren't we all just living in a bizarre state?
Bye.
Bye.